All right, good morning. It is 0800 on the on fire left coast. It is 2020. So I assume everything is going right to hell in a handbasket. But you know what's not going to hell in a handbasket? Your finances. And that's why we're here this morning. And we are going to talk about a little something called the envelope system that you may or may not have heard of. You may be wondering, is it literally an envelope? Is it envelope or envelope? I'm not sure. I'm going to say envelope. Wherever you are, you know what I'm talking about. It's this little envelope, and we'll talk about what you're going to do with it in a minute. But before I get started talking about this particular system, I want to bring to your attention something that I have been bringing up all week. I have a new 5-day, 5-step budgeting challenge, and I realize that every time I've mentioned it in the last few days, I forgot to mention one very important factor. It's free. It doesn't cost you a bloodied cent. So do yourselves a favor. If you want to get your money under control, if you want to stop stressing about living paycheck to paycheck, if you want to get out of debt, if you would like to only work overtime, if you're in the 3 disciplines or first responders, if you will, if you want to stop working overtime out of necessity and start working some overtime out of a plan, either getting out of debt as a plan, or maybe you're saving for a big old vacation. Have a purpose for it, because your money, if you don't have a plan for it, will leave you. And that's what a budget is all about. As John Maxwell says, a budget is nothing more than telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Speaking of telling it where to go, let's talk about this sucker and how it is an old school way of really helping you build a habit of good money management. So what is the envelope for? Well, it's literally stuffed with money. That's it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. All right, we'll talk to you soon. No, seriously, you have certain categories that we tend to spend without intention, I guess, until you build that habit. So let me give you some example categories. Groceries or food, dining, gas, household stuff like cleaning supplies, things that you certainly should not be eating, paper towels, end dust and bleach, stuff for the washer and dryer, those kinds of things. Things that are non-perishables that you don't ingest. Entertainment money, date night or family fun, spending money for your kids. Now, you don't just randomly stuff dollars in an envelope. They are still a part of your budget, but you are planning for this, okay? So let's say, for example, I'll give you what we did with household money. So we budgeted $100 a month for household stuff, paper towels, etc., like I've talked about. And the wife, would write on the envelope. This one I happen to have the example of food. So she would take a physical envelope to the grocery store. Now, we didn't use regular old envelopes. She had I think she got it at the dollar spot at Target, an accordion style envelope, maybe about yay long, that had, of course, it's my wife, so she was able to label. She loves labeling. And she would label all the categories, and she would just carry that around in her purse. The purpose is, when you get to the grocery store and you've got your money in there, you're able to just pay cash, right? You budget how much you're going to spend on a given category, and when that money is gone, you're done with that category until the next payday. Now, I know you might be thinking, well, I still have to eat. So what happens if I run out of money? Well, this is part of the learning process of budgeting. I'm not telling you to not eat. That is ridiculous. What I am telling you is, moving forward, realize, okay, over the past few months, I have spent $550 on groceries. So giving myself $400 isn't the smartest way to go. Now, there are a couple of ways you could look at it. You could put in some effort and do some coupon shopping, if you will. You could maybe not buy the most expensive insert item here. It takes intentionality and effort to shop at the grocery store. That was Katie's bailiwick, man. That was so far outside of my wheelhouse. I was too busy working all of the overtime. Like I said yesterday, I made the money, but she made the money work. We worked together to really achieve our financial success in getting out of debt. And this sucker right here was a huge hack that we used that was really beneficial. So I rattled off some categories. Now it depends on where you are as to how much you're gonna put in these categories and if you're gonna have those categories at all. Entertainment. Ooh, so we were $77,000 and change in debt. We didn't have much of an entertainment budget. If we did, it might have been, $5 for the red box, or something we would do every couple of months, and we would just let that money sit in our account under that line item in our budget. But the envelope system, having that physical envelope, keeps you honest. It keeps you on track. It really helps you develop that habit, that discipline that says, okay, blow money. We talked about blow money yesterday. If you didn't tune in yesterday, of course, you can find all these videos on my YouTube channel. If you go to themotorcopmindset.com/YouTube, and I don't have a fancy little thing for it, sorry. But if you go to themotorcopmindset.com/YouTube, that'll take you to my YouTube channel and you can watch this week's earlier videos. But we talked about what blow money is, and it's simply mad money, if you will. Money you can literally just blow away, and who cares? When we were getting out of debt, we had $50. Since we've been out of debt, we gave ourselves a big old raise to $75. I mean, it's veritable Scrooge McDuck swimming in gold coins, right? But if you are buried in debt, I'm going to make the argument to you that having a date night fund or an entertainment fund isn't the most important aspect of your financial life right now. It is getting out of debt, and being hyper focused on it and intentional about it is going to get you out of there way faster. Like I've said in the 5-day budgeting challenge that I created, you can stumble into debt, but you cannot stumble out. You can accidentally wake up one day and be like, oh my God, I am $12,000 in debt. How did that happen? You can go back and figure it out, but getting out of debt, you're not going to wake up one day and be like, oh man, I'm so glad I magically paid off that $12,000. It doesn't happen that way. You have to do it with intentionality. Intentionality is not easy. Doing these videos, talking about this stuff, I love all these things. I'm passionate about it, but sitting here and yammering in front of you for 20 minutes a day isn't a big deal. It's not hard. Talking about stuff is simple. Doing something about it, on the other hand, is way more difficult. And if you don't sit down, like we talked about yesterday, if you don't sit down with your spouse, if you're married, if you're single, I would strongly urge you to find an accountability partner, somebody that's going to hold your feet to the fire, metaphorically, and encourage you. Maybe somebody who is where you want to be. Find that friend that's good with money and ask them, how are you doing this? How can I emulate what you're doing? Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't try and come up with some newfangled way to handle your money. There's a reason that the envelope system is so old school, because it works. Not to mention the fact that digital wasn't a thing way back when. But I promise you, depending on how old you are, your grandparents or your great-grandparents did this very thing. And guess what? They didn't have a lot of debt because that wasn't the societal norm back then. It certainly is now. And Lord knows we are doing everything we can here at MCPD to change that, at least for you. You're watching this, you're interested in this stuff. I want you to have this perspective of, I don't need debt. I don't want debt. I can make my money do what I want, when I want, with a plan. So however much you're going to have in these random categories is going to depend on your situation. I'm not going to sit here and tell you you need X amount in your blow money. You need X amount for gas. I don't know how far you drive every month. I have no idea. If you're like me, 13 miles from where you work, you're not spending a boatload of money on gas. But if you live 90 miles from where you work, each direction, you're spending some money on gas. So how are you going to figure out how much that is? Well, that's step number 1 of my 5-day budgeting challenge. Tomorrow, like I mentioned yesterday, I will not be live at 0800 because I have an MRI scheduled at that particular time, or at least during that hour, and I'm going to have to leave the house about 8 o'clock. So tomorrow I will go live at some point, but tomorrow is specifically going to be talking about my 5-day budgeting challenge. What it is, how to get to it, which we've talked about a couple of times. I'll talk specifically about the 5 steps without giving away the entire farm. I want you to go through the challenge so you can learn a little bit more. It's delivered via email every single day for 5 days. And then you have the basics down. You are ready to go. But what I don't talk about in the 5-day challenge is the envelope system. There are plenty of things that can help you that go above and beyond the basics. But this envelope system is a good habit to build. Now, I don't use the envelope system anymore. Why? Because I have a habit. I'm going to step off camera real quick and I'm going to grab my phone. So on my phone, I've got the app for YNAB, You Need a Budget. It's ynab.com/WYE. They sponsor my podcast, What's Your Emergency? So if you go to ynab.com/WYE, it's our affiliate link. You can get a 34-day free trial. And then if you sign up, they throw a few bucks towards the show at no extra cost to you. So this is our budget. This is my digital envelope system because I know that I've been saving my blow money, for example, and I've got 150 bucks available to me. So when I go to the store, if I hop on Amazon, if I want a new book, if I want whatever, I can look at this and be like, okay, well, I want a new guitar, let's say. And the guitar I want is $399 plus tax, so figure, $420, $430, whatever. I'm gonna have to save my blow money for a few months in order to afford that thing. I am not going to finance it. Absolutely not. I will never do that again. If I want something, I save for it. But because we've developed that habit, we are able to use the app and look at our budget. Now, it used to be organized, and we've since changed up how we do things because we're not in debt anymore. But we used to have line items or main categories, and it was envelopes. And then it would be groceries, gas, household, blow money, et cetera, because then we would know exactly where that envelope system lives within our budget. It's, like I said, it just helps you develop that discipline and that habit. So if you are consistently finding that you're running out of money in that envelope, you got to do one of two things, really. Give yourself more money if it's a necessity. But the other thing to do first is really analyze your spending. And that's the hard part about step one, is you get to look behind you and see how you got to where you are. Where do you spend your money? In the Bible, it talks about where your money goes, therein your treasure lies. And I'm not a Bible scholar by any stretch of the imagination, so I don't know chapter and verse, but that's the gist of it, right? So when you look at your spending habits, it will tell you what's important to you. What is the most important thing that you're doing in your life? Sometimes it's makes you feel good, and sometimes it's like, ooh, I wish I hadn't spent all this money on this thing over here because this is not how I want to be remembered, right? So the envelope system, like I said, is a neat little hack that a lot of folks don't use. So here's one other thing that I hear sometimes, wait, isn't it dangerous to carry around a wad of cash? Isn't it dangerous to walk across the street? Isn't it dangerous to not wear your seatbelt? Isn't it dangerous to talk on the cell phone while you're driving? Lots of things are dangerous. I'm not saying take a big wad of cash and flash it around like, you're at the club. Don't do that. Be subtle about it. Maybe, take only what you need for that particular transaction. Don't carry around $3,000 in cash. Don't be stupid about it. But how often are you hearing about, people at the Kroger or the Safeway or the insert grocery store chain here being held up? Sure, it happens, but it doesn't happen often. You are way more likely to suffer any other number of cataclysmic things. I mean, it is 2020 and literally everything around us is on fire here in California. But that's just a brief look into the envelope system. Wanted to give you just the gist of what it's for, how to use it. If you have questions, please, when you're watching this video later, drop them in the comments. I am totally in limbo insofar as when I will be returning to work. It kind of hinges on the MRI tomorrow. So I may continue doing these. Maybe not every day, but once a week, every so often. I've kind of enjoyed it. It's built a nice habit that I can communicate with you and answer any potential questions. Again, do me a favor. If you want more information, please go to themotorcopmindset.com/budget challenge. You will have 5 easy to follow steps that will get you from where you are to where you want to be. And you'll have an opportunity to really change the financial trajectory of your entire family. And I'll tell you what, just knowing that my kids are not going to have to face the overwhelming monster of debt that we faced, that was worth 28 months of wicked hard work. So there you go. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and or feel free to reach out to me directly, jason@themotorcopmindset.com. My back is telling me it's time to be done. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and I will see you at some point tomorrow. Keep an eye on the feeds. If you aren't following MotorCop on Facebook, just go to facebook.com/motorcopblog, all one word, and you'll be notified when I go live next. All right, y'all, have a good day. Be safe. Cheers.